Police didn't investigate, and it's been bothering me. It's the name of a post made in the RBI subreddit in July of 2021. This post was made by a user who claimed to hear a woman screaming near their home. Worried by this, they called 911 to report it, but the police didn't take the call seriously until 2 months later, where they finally checked the area and realized their fatal mistake. At around 8:30 to 8:45, I arrived home from a quick trip to town to grab a beer. As I got out of my car, I could hear something. I thought for a moment that I had left the TV on and was hearing it from outside, but as I walked to the front of my car and pressed the lock button on my remote, I realized that what I was hearing was screaming. I listened for a second, thinking it was somebody screwing around, but then the woman's voice screamed, "No, stop, you're hurting me, you're killing me," and an adult male voice yelling something I couldn't make out. I immediately dialed 911 and told the police. They could even hear the screaming in the background. They said they'd send an officer to drive by, but an hour passed and no one came. I watched for them on my security cameras. I pulled the footage from the only one that was set to record constantly. The camera on my back door only records when it detects a humanoid shape, so it caught me making the phone call and a little of the screaming in the background. The backyard camera caught it all, but is unintelligible due to outdoor AC unit noise. I cleaned up the audio as best I could, but I need advice on how to proceed. I am attaching a Dropbox link to the video. I also included the original in the second half of the video. If you watch it, the screaming was coming from directly where the camera is pointed, but more than 50 feet away, across a narrow field. There is a small shack that has a couple of cars, usually parked at the road, just on the other side of the field. It's bothering me a lot, since I'm 41 years old and have never heard anything so disturbing in real life. Here's the video. Update September 7th. I guess they finally had a reason to go out and check the property I was trying to tell them to look at. There are sheriff cars all over the place, and cops in gloves walking in and out of this garage, and one cop throwing up in the front yard. I have a picture, but I can't add it to an update. After this, the cops talked to the OP, and they showed the police the footage. Then the police asked them for a statement, and told them to not trespass in the area. On February 6, 2022, the Redditor made another post titled, "Welp, Murder It Is," giving an update to the situation. I posted last year about coming home and hearing a female voice screaming for her life. I posted a video with the audio of the scream and got plenty of comments. About 2 months later, the house that it was coming from had sheriff cars all around it. I found out that an elderly man had committed suicide via gunshot, and that his son was the only person home, and the person who reported that his father had shot himself. Fast forward to last week, I was sitting at home watching YouTube when I heard gunshots. I live in the country, and that's common, so I didn't think anything of it. Turns out it was the sound of that son murdering his mother. He was trying to claim in self-defense, but he is being charged with murder. I live next door and my security cameras caught the audio of the murder. It also captures the vehicle the son made his getaway in. I've had detectives in and out gathering video footage for the past week. They are now looking at him for the murder of his father as well. The case has been reopened, and if they recognize that my calls and reports were actually real, 2 lives could have been saved. The man was sentenced to 15 years to life in prison. On January 2nd, 2014, a post was made to Reddit by a single mother named Jenny called "Experience Using Sleeping as Android App." Sleep as Android is essentially an advanced alarm clock app that will track your sleep cycles and record audio as you sleep. In the post, Jenny wrote, I use an app called Sleep as Android to improve my sleep. One of the features is that it records your nighttime noises. I've been using the app since October 1st of 2013. I've never caught anything other than sounds created by me changing positions or coughing or something like that, although I've been told several times that I talk in my sleep by other people. On December 30th at 2:04 a.m., I caught something very weird. To set up, this night I was sleeping in my bed. My 3-year-old was with me that night as he is scared of the dark. It was just the two of us in the whole house. The next night, I decided to go through and delete my recordings and saw this particular record. In it, you can hear some clicks that start to get louder over the course of the recording. Eventually, you can hear me say, "What are you doing?" And immediately after, there's a deep voice that says, "Nothing." The clicks become very loud at that point, and at the very end of the recording, you hear the same voice say, "That's them." I'm pretty creeped out by this. I don't remember being awake that night. The only plausible explanation is that I answered my own sleep talking, but the voice doesn't even sound like me or something I could emulate. It definitely doesn't sound like a voice my preschooler could emulate either. I have no idea what the clicks could be. I keep a fan going at night for white noise, but the clicks sound like they're coming from right near my phone, which is placed right by me on my bedside table. I want to say that I've picked up the clicks a few times on recordings before, but deleted them thinking it was nothing. This is the first time I've ever heard anything though. I would love some debunking here. I like creepy stuff, but certainly not in my own home. This is the audio she captured.
What are you doing? Okay. That's
The part at the end is especially enhanced, as well as the clicking sounds. After listening to it cleaned up, I'm pretty sure I hear my name at the end. Others have said they hear "I'm Danny" or "I'm dead" or "that's them." Just so there's an update for people wondering how this turned out, I have caught no more voice recordings since then. Also, as suggested by several people, I've beefed up my home security. This happened 4 months ago. Since then, I have had no more weird voice recordings, but there was 1 or 2 more instances of the clicking noise waking me up at night. During one of those times that it woke me up, I sat up and tried to hear where the sound was coming from. The sound seemed to be coming from the area of my fan, about 12 feet away from my bed, but the closer I got, it started to fade away. When I got to my fan, it wasn't coming from my fan at all that I could tell, and it just stopped. I say nothing weird has happened for about 3 months now. I'm completely fine with that. This experience really messed with me for a while. According to a couple of Reddit users, the clicking sounds are made by the app in order to get people to stop snoring. But this still leaves the mystery of where the voice came from. Some users believe that the voice was just her own, but one commenter believes that the second voice couldn't have come from her, so much so that he made his own post titled, "The voice in the famous sleep app recording is not the woman talking to herself," which gives proof of this. If you want, you can read it and the original post in its entirety. I'll link them both in the description below. But to summarize, the user Finderbaron details how the human voice works, and that the voice was too deep to be hers, even getting voice samples from Jenny to compare them. Many commenters believe that the voice came from an intruder and advised her to install security cameras in her home, which she did, but she never caught anything after that and moved out of the house a year later. This next post is titled, "I used to live by myself," and was posted to the No Sleep subreddit, but was later uploaded in Let's Not Meet in 2013. Let's Not Meet is a subreddit where users post true stories of individuals they never want to meet again. This post talks about a woman who had just moved into an apartment recently when she started to notice things in her apartment moving around or just plain missing. She thought this was just anxiety caused by a medication she had just started taking, but later discovered the horrifying truth. I moved into my very small apartment in February of last year. My landlord, Olivia, was a sweet older woman who would cook too much and bring me much appreciated leftovers. She was great to me, even after telling her my problem. I'm antisocial, but she didn't mind renting to a reclusive young girl who reminded her of her daughter. Every few weeks she would knock on my door then leave, letting me know she was leaving something for me. I loved that. Not even my family would cook so well. The next morning, I washed and leave her empty containers outside my door, and in an hour or so, she would take them back again. My other neighbors seemed fine, but I never talked or visited with them. I worked from home, so anytime I was forced to go out, I rushed out and into my apartment, avoiding an uncomfortable situation. I loved living alone. It was everything I hoped for. I could just breathe. By April, though, I started noticing things were not right. They were moving, or plain disappearing. I was convinced it was just anxiety caused by my new medication in the move. Another side effect was it would just make me so drowsy. Since I hated seeing the doctor, I just dealt. I took naps during the day now, and eventually stopped caring, until one incident doubled my paranoia. Olivia brought me some sort of Greek tossed salad and dressing for lunch one day, and I enjoyed it with my friend Netflix. I fell asleep in the middle of Portlandia and woke up that evening at 5 p.m. Per usual, what was not usual was my bedding on the opposite side of me was disturbed. I only sleep on the right side. Even more, it felt warm. My first thought was I must have rolled around a lot, but I knew it was too odd to dismiss. I got up and searched my apartment, gripping my phone with 911 dialed in. Nothing else was disturbed. Everything was exactly like it should be. I let it go for the next few weeks. Everything was normal, pardon the occasional misplaced shoe or drawn back shower curtain. I thought about telling someone, my parents, maybe Olivia, but if it's not life or death, I'm not reaching out to anyone. I wasn't scared. I was nervous, maybe a little stubborn, but I stayed. I'm not letting some stupid anxiety ruin my lovely, lonely world. May came, and it was getting worse. My panties, toothbrush, hell, even my food was being misplaced. Every time I woke up, there was this strange odor in the air. I finally realized this won't go away by ignoring it. I called my mom and begged to stay a few days. When I got home, I told them everything. Saying it out loud solidified any creepy suspicions. That weekend, my dad went to my apartment, and what was found was true horror. Written all over those walls, "Come back, baby please." He ran out and called the police. There was no one living in my apartment, but someone definitely had access besides me. The investigation revealed a man. Henry, the son of my landlord Olivia, was in a projected relationship with me. They showed me his confession on tape. He admitted coming into my apartment every night and every day with his mother's extra key. He claims we were in love and he had my permission. He drugged his mother's food she left out for me, causing my drowsiness, so he could come in and watch me sleep, touch my hair, kiss my shoulder. The leftovers I had in the fridge were tested and confirmed. I was absolutely horrified and disgusted. A man I never knew existed collected my drain hair, clothes, and trash, and practically lived in my apartment for 4 months. In 2012, a post made on the X Reddit thread asks, "Have you ever felt a deep personal connection to a person you met in a dream, only to wake up feeling terrible because you realized they never existed?" One of the top comments responded with a story of how one day they were assaulted by a football player, then afterwards lived the next 10 years of their life normally until they woke up from a coma. My last semester at a certain college, I was assaulted by a football player for walking where he was trying to drive. Note, he was 325 pounds, I was 120. While unconscious on the ground, I lived a different life. I met a wonderful young lady. She made my heart skip a beat and my face red. I pursued her for months and dispatched a few jerk boyfriends before I finally won her over. After 2 years, we got married, and almost immediately she bore me a daughter. I had a great job, and my wife didn't work outside of the house. When my daughter was 2, my wife, bore me a son. My son was the joy of my life. I would walk into his room every morning before I left for work and dotted on him and my daughter. One day, while sitting on the couch, I noticed that the perspective of the lamp was odd, like inverted. It was still in 3D, but just wrong. It was a square lamp base, red with gold trim on 4 legs, and a white square shade. I was transfixed. I couldn't look away from it. I stayed up all night staring at it. The next morning, I didn't go to work. Something was just not right about that lamp. I stopped eating. I left the couch only to use the bathroom at first. Soon, I stopped that too, as I wasn't eating or drinking. I stared at the lamp for 3 days before my wife got really worried. She had someone come and try to talk to me. By this time, my cognizance was breaking up, and my wife was freaking out. She took the kids to her mother's house, just before I had my epiphany. The lamp isn't real. The house isn't real. My wife, my kids, none of that is real. The last 10 years of my life are not fucking real. The lamp started to grow wider and deeper. It was still inverted dimensions. It took up my entire perspective, and all I could see was red. I heard voices, screams, all kinds of weird noises, and I became aware of pain. A fucking shit ton of pain. The first words I said were, "I'm missing teeth," and opened my eyes. I was laying on my back on the sidewalk, surrounded by people that I didn't know. I was completely confused. At some point, a cop scooped me up, dragged/walked me across the sidewalk and grass, and threw me face down in the back of a cop car. I was still confused. I was taken to the hospital by the cop and given CT scans and shit. It seemed he didn't want to wait for the ambulance to arrive. I went through about 3 years of horrid depression. I was grieving the loss of my wife and children and dealing with the knowledge that they never existed. I was scared that I was going insane, as I would cry myself to sleep, hoping I would see her in my dreams. I never have, but sometimes I see my son, usually just a glimpse out my peripheral vision. He is perpetually 5 years old, and I can never hear what he says. This post was made on a throwaway account that has been deleted since, so there is no update on if the uploader has fully recovered from this.